It might surprise you all to know that there are some monsters in The Witcher that appear no less human than you or I. There are some monsters that are so powerful, they appear human when they so desire. But this isn't what even makes these monsters so dangerous. It's a combination of this, their raw strength, plethora of abilities, and intelligence. I am of course talking about higher vampires. And no, I don't mean the vampires that belong to the higher class of vampires, such as Bruxa and Catacans. I'm talking about the proper higher vampires. Higher vampires are thought to be the most powerful of all vampires. They dominate vampire society and command the utmost respect from all others beneath them. Vampire society is mysterious and little is known about its inner workings, but it is known that it works in an age-based hierarchy. However, those belonging to species with more intelligence undoubtedly rule over the more monstrous vampires, regardless of age, and chief among them are the higher vampires, hence why they rule as the apex predators out of every vampire. So, what makes these vampires the apex predators? Well, first of all, they are intelligent. And I don't just mean intelligent for a monster or animal, I mean intelligent even for a human. A prime example of this is the character of Regis, one of Geralt's companions in the Witcher 3 Blood and Wine and Witcher books. This vampire is not only one of the most powerful of Geralt's group in the books, but arguably the most intelligent of them, possessing immense reasoning skills and knowledge in philosophy and the arts. The same goes for other higher vampires, like for example Dettlaff, who although is more emotional than Regis, is still ferociously intelligent, at least compared to so many monsters out there. The next reason is their abilities, which in my opinion are stronger than that of any other monster in The Witcher. Each higher vampire is able to turn themselves into a sort of mist form, which allows them to easily escape any situation and evade foes in combat. Not that they need to, as they are also very fast, as in they can be on you within the click of your fingers, tearing you to pieces with their nails, or rather claws, which are long, durable and sharp, and their razor-like teeth. If these abilities weren't intimidating enough, each higher vampire also has a unique ability that they hone over years of practice. For example, Dettlaff had the power to force vampires lower than that of higher to do his bidding, and turn into an incredibly powerful form, and Regis had the ability to communicate with ravens, using them to deliver messages and spy, and he could turn into a large bat form capable of massacring a room in seconds. It's worth noting that some sources say that all higher vampires can assume the form of a giant bat, but evidence of this has not been found, hence for why I now attribute it solely to Regis, as for example we haven't seen Dettlaff do this, or the Unseen Elder, or even heard that they can do it. Now, at this point you may be thinking, these monsters seem pretty powerful. Why haven't they just taken over the world? Well, one reason put forward is that when vampires arrived in the world of the Enshe, which is the world The Witcher takes place in, they arrived in really small numbers. On top of this, as powerful as they are, vampires as a species are largely disorganized, most just seeking blood and possessing the intelligence of animals. I mean, all vampires in one way or another do desire blood, but the higher vampires and more intelligent vampires are able to get it more carefully or completely stop themselves from even wanting it, as unlike other vampires, they don't need it to live. On top of this, some of the most powerful vampires, like that of the Unseen Elder, simply have no desire to take over the world. To vampires, the world of the Enshe feels, to put it simply, weird. Regis described it like an incredibly uncomfortable experience all the time. Why would they want to rule that world? It's not like vampires have this great affinity for each other. Most of the higher vampires just exist by themselves. The only reason Regis and Dettlaff are friends is because Dettlaff revived him, bonding them, which only happened because Dettlaff is a very emotional and, although he may not seem it, kind vampire. Many vampires, like the Unseen Elder, just want to return to their world. That's why he spends all his time just sitting in that cave at the point where the vampires came into the world of the Enshe. He doesn't really care about leaving. He wants to be as close to home as possible, which is kind of understandable. Finally, a lot of higher vampires just stay away from humans, occasionally killing them for blood, and when they do come across them, they luckily have the ability to blend in, as they can appear more human when they so wish. Humans also have large numbers and can overwhelm them. Even the most powerful can be overwhelmed by sheer numbers. Hence why vampires punish those who go out of line and draw too much attention to the rest of them. Something else that's important to note is higher vampires are pretty much immortal. Even if they are somehow quite literally obliterated, like with Regis and Vilgefortz, they still regenerate over time, albeit very, very slowly, unless another higher vampire uses their blood to speed the process along. And by slowly, I mean decades. This regenerative process also applies to if a higher vampire is injured, they simply heal. So for example, they have their limb cut off, it would just grow back. In fact, the only way to kill a higher vampire permanently is to have another higher vampire do it. That is the only way. Even then, vampire society dictates that if a vampire should kill another of their kind, they are forever banished from vampire society, treated as an outsider that must be killed on sight. Having said all of this about higher vampires the race, even the race of higher vampires are difficult to class. They possess all of these common traits, but still vary greatly from vampire to vampire. For example, the Unseen Elder of Toussaint is thought to be either an incredibly powerful higher vampire, who is not only very old, but has honed himself to be very powerful, or another type of vampire entirely, perhaps in a league of his own above even that of higher vampires. Actually, now I've brought the Unseen Elder, let's just briefly go over the current known higher vampires. There is Regis, Dettlaff, and possibly the Unseen Elder. This might surprise a lot of you, because you may think there are actually more known higher vampires, but from what I can find and from what I remember too, these are the only known 3. The reason Oriana isn't included in this list is because she isn't actually a higher vampire, just a very old powerful bruxer, and if you want to learn more about her and what she is, I have covered her before. Every other vampire we have met that many of you may consider higher vampires aren't actually the higher vampire race. They are most likely bruxer or catechans, or one of the other higher vampires by classification. For example, bruxer and catechans can both appear human as well, which is why many believe that they are also the higher vampire race, but they aren't, it's just something they're able to do as well. So just to clarify, we currently only know of 3 true higher vampires. Anyway, that's it for today's Witcher lore video, and I hope you've all enjoyed. Making these sorts of videos is always fun, and I hope to make more in the future, so please leave your suggestions down below in the comments, and maybe my next lore video will be discussing that topic. Also, let me know about any other sorts of Witcher videos you would like to see, and maybe I'll consider making those too. I would also really appreciate you all checking out my second channel, Ranger George, as I'm currently making videos on there discussing other things I'm interested in, like the Elder Scrolls, the Lord of the Rings, and many other subjects. There's a few videos on there you might not have seen yet, so give it a look, and if you enjoy them, subscribe there too. But if you've enjoyed today's video, be sure to like it for more of the same. Anyway, that's it for today's video, and thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.